The strange signal appeared on Dr. Olivia Ramirez's screen at exactly 3:17 a.m. At first, she thought it was just noise. Space was full of random signals after all. But this one was different. It repeated. It had patterns. After 20 minutes of watching it pulse across her monitor, Olivia knew this was no accident of cosmic radiation. Someone was sending this message. Olivia had spent 8 years at the North American Space Agency looking for signs of alien life. Most of her colleagues had given up hope. They focused on mapping stars or tracking asteroids instead. But Olivia kept listening to the stars night after night. Now her patience had paid off. She reached for her phone with shaking hands and called her boss. "Director Carson, it's Ramirez. I need you to come to the lab right now. I found something." 2 weeks later, Olivia stood in a packed meeting room. Government officials, military officers, and scientists from around the world watched as she explained her discovery. The signal comes from the Epsilon Eridani system, about 10.5 light-years away. We've confirmed it's artificial. It contains mathematical sequences that couldn't occur naturally. She clicked to the next slide. And last night we received this. The screen showed a series of images. A beautiful blue-green planet, cities with towering spires, and then destruction. Fires, ruins, ships shaped like arrowheads firing down from orbit. A species with 4 arms and iridescent skin, running, dying. "It's a distress call," Olivia said simply. "They're being attacked and they're asking for help." The room erupted in voices. Fear, excitement, disbelief. Director Carson raised his hands for quiet. "Dr. Ramirez, are you absolutely certain this is real, not a hoax?" "The signal comes from Epsilon Eridani. That's confirmed by 3 separate observatories. The mathematical structure is beyond our current understanding. It uses concepts we're only beginning to grasp. No human could have created this." A man in a military uniform stood up. "I'm Commander Frank Winters, United Earth Defense Force. If this is real, what exactly are we supposed to do about it? We've barely set foot on Mars. We can't help people 10 light-years away." Olivia looked him straight in the eye. "Actually, we can." The signal included technical specifications. Plans for an engine that could get us there in months, not decades. The room went silent. "They sent us the means to reach them," she continued. "They're giving us technology far beyond our own. Why would they do that unless they truly needed our help?" 3 months later, Commander Frank Winters stood in the launch bay of the Earth's most advanced spaceship, the EAS Horizon. It had been built in record time, using the alien engine plans from the message. No one fully understood how it worked. The fold space drive seemed to bend the fabric of reality itself, but tests showed it would get them to Epsilon Eridani in just under 3 months. Frank watched as his crew made final preparations. They were the best Earth had to offer, but they were heading into complete unknown territory. Would they be enough? Dr. Olivia Ramirez approached him, tablet in hand. "Final communications check is complete, Commander. We can send and receive messages through the fold space bubble, at least in theory." "In theory." "That's comforting," Frank said, but he smiled slightly. Olivia's confidence had never wavered since that first meeting. Her certainty was reassuring. "The world is watching us, Dr. Ramirez. Do you ever worry we're making a mistake? Maybe there's a reason we haven't met aliens before. Maybe we're not ready." Olivia shook her head. "Someone is dying out there, Commander. They asked for help. How could ignoring them be the right choice?" Frank nodded slowly. "Well, we'll find out soon enough. Is your team ready?" "Mason is doing final checks on the fold space drive. Elaine is securing the medical bay. Gabriel has run 3 separate security drills today, and Kate has the flight path plotted. We're as ready as we'll ever be." The ship's communication system crackled to life. "This is Houston Control to EAS Horizon. You are cleared for launch in T-minus 60 minutes. Repeat, 60 minutes to launch." As the crew took their positions, political leaders from around the world gathered at Mission Control. The President of the United States stepped up to a microphone. "Today, Humanity takes its first true step into the stars, not just for exploration, but to answer a call for help. We go as representatives of Earth, of all people. We go in peace, but prepared for any challenge. May God watch over the brave crew of the Horizon. In her station inside the ship, Olivia felt a chill run down her spine. The weight of what they were doing suddenly felt very real. First contact with an alien species. Not on Earth, not on our terms, but traveling to their world in response to their plea. The launch countdown began. The crew strapped in. The newly built fold space drive hummed with energy no human had mastered before. 10, 9, 8. Engineer Mason Phillips watched his instruments carefully. The alien technology was behaving exactly as the specifications had promised. It was beautiful in its elegance. 7, 6, 5. Medical Officer Dr. Elaine Russell closed her eyes briefly, thinking of all the new medical knowledge she might gain. Alien biology, new cures, new understanding. 4, 3, 2. Security Chief Gabriel Ortiz checked his weapons one last time. He prayed they wouldn't be needed, but his job was to prepare for the worst. 1. Pilot Kate Donnelly's hands rested steady on the controls. Beyond those controls lay the greatest flight any human had ever attempted. Launch. The ES Horizon rose from Earth on a column of blue-white flame. Then, at the edge of the atmosphere, the fold space drive activated. Space itself seemed to bend around the ship. Stars blurred. And then they were gone, racing toward Epsilon Eridani faster than light itself. What no one on the ship knew was that they were heading toward a galactic conflict that had been raging for centuries. The message had come from the Ardani, a peaceful race now facing extinction at the hands of the expansionist Krell Dominion. And what the Ardani themselves didn't realize was exactly what they had called forth. In their desperation, they had broadcast their plea across thousands of star systems. They never expected a response from a primitive, unregistered planet, especially not a Class 5 death world. In the great catalog of galactic worlds, planets were ranked by how hostile their environments were. Class 1 worlds were paradise planets, with ideal conditions. Most spacefaring species evolved on Class 1 or 2 worlds, developing advanced technology to overcome their physical limitations. Earth was a Class 5, a death world. High gravity, extreme temperature variations, deadly radiation levels, aggressive predators, virulent diseases, and natural disasters. The beings who evolved there would be unnaturally strong, resilient, and adaptable by galactic standards. They would also be violent, unpredictable, and dangerous. The Ardani had called for help from anyone who would listen. Instead, they got humans, a species the rest of the galaxy had quietly quarantined, hoping they would destroy themselves before discovering the stars. As the EAS Horizon sped through fold space, carrying humanity's first ambassadors to an interstellar war, the Ardani watched their sensors with growing hope. Help was coming. The Krell would soon learn they had made a terrible mistake. What the Ardani couldn't know was that the Krell's mistake was nothing compared to what the galaxy had made. The quarantine had been broken. The Deathworlders were loose among the stars, and nothing would ever be the same again. The journey through fold space felt strange to everyone aboard the EAS Horizon. Time seemed to stretch and compress. Stars outside the viewports blurred into streams of light. Some crew members reported odd dreams. Others said they heard whispers, just at the edge of hearing. The ship's doctor, Elaine Russell, kept everyone under close observation. "It's like our brains aren't meant to process this kind of travel," she told Commander Winters during their daily briefing. "Nothing serious, but everyone's experiencing some level of sensory distortion." "Are we in any danger?" Frank asked. "No. The effects are mild. Just strange." Elaine checked her tablet. "Mason says we'll arrive in less than a week." Frank nodded, looking out at the unnatural colors that seemed to flow around the ship. "I hope we find something worth all this when we get there." 6 days later, the EAS Horizon emerged from fold space at the edge of the Epsilon Eridani system. The crew gathered on the bridge, staring at the view screens in a mixture of awe and horror. The fourth planet, clearly once home to a thriving civilization, was partially in ruins. Massive craters scarred its surface. Several of its 3 moons had been shattered. In orbit around the planet, debris from destroyed ships formed a thin, glittering ring. "My God," Olivia whispered. "We're too late." "No," said Kate from the pilot station. "Look, there are still cities intact on the night side, and I'm picking up energy signatures. Someone's still down there." "And they're not alone," Gabriel added from security. "I count at least 7 large vessels in the system. Design unlike anything we've seen before. They're not from Earth, that's for sure." Frank took a deep breath. "All right, let's announce ourselves. Dr. Ramirez, can you broadcast the greeting message we prepared?" Olivia nodded, her fingers moving across her console. The message was simple. Earth had received their distress call and come to help. It was translated into mathematical patterns based on the original signal. For 3 tense minutes, there was no response. Then the communication system lit up. "We're receiving a transmission," Olivia said, her voice trembling with excitement. It's using our own language patterns. They've analyzed our message and are responding in English." A voice came through the speakers. It sounded almost musical, with strange harmonics unlike any human speech. "Earth vessel, you should not have come. It is too dangerous. But since you are here, we need your help desperately. Can you land? Our shields will hide you from the Krell." Frank exchanged looks with his officers, then nodded. "Tell them we're coming down." The EAS horizon descended through the atmosphere under Kate's skilled guidance. Below them, a vast city spread out, its architecture graceful and flowing with tall crystal-like towers. But many buildings were damaged or destroyed. Fires burned in several districts. A circular landing pad lit up with blue lights guiding them down. As the ship settled onto the alien world, Olivia felt tears in her eyes. Humans had just landed on an alien planet for the first time in history. "Prepare to disembark," Frank ordered. "Gabriel, security team on point. Olivia, you're with me. Elaine, bring medical supplies. Mason, secure the ship." The airlock cycled open, and Earth's first ambassadors stepped onto alien soil. They were met by a group of tall, slender beings with 4 arms and iridescent blue-green skin that seemed to shimmer with its own inner light. Their large eyes had no visible pupils, just swirling patterns of gold and amber. They wore simple robes of material that flowed like liquid. One stepped forward. "I am Liren, ambassador of the Ardani. Welcome to Eridan. We never truly believed anyone would answer our call, especially not..." The alien hesitated. "Especially not what?" Frank asked. "Especially not beings from a world like yours. Please, come. We have little time. The Krell will return soon." The humans were led into a large chamber deep underground. There, Liren explained the situation. The Ardani were a peaceful species that had achieved space travel centuries ago. For generations, they had been part of a loose alliance of worlds called the Concordance. But 20 years ago, the Krell Dominion had begun expanding aggressively, conquering world after world. We tried to negotiate. We offered them resources, technology, anything they wanted. But they take joy in conquest itself, Liren explained. 3 months ago, they began bombardment of our major cities. Millions died in the first wave. "Why target your people specifically?" Elaine asked. "We are telepathically linked. All Ardani share a collective consciousness to some degree. The Krell see this as a threat, minds they cannot control through fear." Mason frowned. "But if you have space travel and advanced technology, why can't you fight back?" Liren's skin colors shifted to darker hues, a sign of sadness they had learned. "We evolved on a world with few dangers. Our bodies are fragile. We focused on technology and art, not warfare. The Krell come from a harsher world. They are stronger, more aggressive." Gabriel snorted. "No offense, but they can't be that tough if they're bullying people like you." Liren tilted his head. "The Krell are from what we classify as a Class 3 world, moderately harsh conditions. You..." He hesitated again. What about us? Frank pressed. Your world would be classified as Class 5. A death world. Conditions so extreme that most spacefaring species could not survive there unprotected. High gravity, extreme temperatures, harmful radiation, aggressive predators, virulent diseases. The humans exchanged confused looks. Earth seemed perfectly normal to them. Wait, Olivia said slowly. Are you saying that humans are stronger than these Krell? Almost certainly, Liren replied. But that is also why your arrival is so shocking. Class 5 species rarely achieve space travel. They usually destroy themselves first. Most galactic powers agree that Deathworlders are too dangerous to contact. Your world was placed under quarantine long ago. Frank's face hardened. You're saying the galaxy decided to just ignore Earth? To pretend we don't exist? It is standard protocol. But we were desperate. We sent our call to every system within reach, including dormant worlds like yours. We never expected you would both receive it and have the capability to respond. An alarm suddenly blared through the chamber. Another Ardani rushed in. Ambassador, Krell ships have returned. They're landing troops in the southern district. Liren's skin paled to almost white. We must evacuate this facility. The shield cannot hide us much longer. No, Frank said firmly. We came to help, and that's what we're going to do. Gabriel, get your security team. Let's see what these Krell are really made of. Against Liren's protests, Frank, Gabriel, and 4 security officers headed to the surface. They reached a balcony overlooking a wide plaza just as Krell forces marched into view. The aliens were impressive, nearly 7 feet tall, with tough gray hide and powerful builds. They wore mechanical armor that enhanced their already considerable strength. Their weapons fired energy bolts that melted through Ardani structures. Those are the bullies, Gabriel whispered. They look tough. Frank checked his rifle. Maybe by the standards around here, but let's remind them that humans come from a death world. The small team of humans opened fire from their position of cover. The Krell, unprepared for resistance, suffered immediate casualties. When they returned fire, they discovered another surprise. The humans were much faster than any species they had encountered before. After a brief but intense firefight, the Krell squad retreated, leaving several of their own dead behind. Liren and the other Ardani stared at the humans in shock. You killed them, Liren said, his voice filled with both horror and awe. You fought them directly and won. Frank ejected a spent clip from his rifle. That was just a small squad. We need a real plan if we're going to face their army. For the first time since the humans had arrived, Liren's skin brightened with colors of hope. Perhaps, he said quietly, we were right to call the Deathworlders after all. News of the human victory spread quickly among the Ardani. Within hours, their collective consciousness had shared every detail of the battle with their entire species. Hope began to replace despair. In the underground command center, Frank and his team met with the Ardani Leadership Council. Liren, translated as the council head, a female named Shira, spoke. For generations, we believed that our advanced technology would protect us from any threat, Liren translated. We were wrong. The Krell have adapted to our defenses, but your people fight in ways we never considered possible. Frank nodded. On Earth, we have a long history of warfare. It's not something we're proud of, but it has taught us many lessons. Will you teach us? Shira asked through Liren. Frank looked at Gabriel, who shrugged. We're not here to start a war, but these people need help defending themselves. Agreed, Frank said. We'll show you what we can. Over the next week, the humans began training the Ardani. It wasn't easy. The aliens were physically fragile compared to humans. A punch that would merely bruise a human could shatter an Ardani's bones. Their reflexes were slower, their endurance much lower, but they had advantages humans lacked. Their telepathic abilities allowed them to coordinate perfectly, and their technology was decades, perhaps centuries beyond Earth's. Mason Phillips spent his days working with Ardani engineers. He showed them how to modify their energy weapons for combat use. The Ardani had never designed weapons specifically to kill. Their defensive technology was meant to disable or contain threats, not destroy them. You need to increase the power. Output here, Mason explained to an Ardani engineer named Valan, and focus the beam more tightly. Valan's skin rippled with colors of concern. Match human strength, but their forearms gave them advantages in certain moves. Use your opponent's momentum against them, Gabriel demonstrated, flipping an Ardani volunteer who charged at him. You don't need to be stronger than a Krell. You just need to be smarter. Elaine Russell made perhaps the most surprising discovery. The Ardani healing technology was remarkably advanced, but they had never applied it to combat medicine. Your medical pods can repair tissue almost instantly, she told Liren, but they're too large to transport. If we could make portable versions, Liren's skin brightened. Yes, our healers could accompany fighting units. Kate Donnelly worked with Ardani pilots, showing them maneuvers that the aliens had never attempted. Their ships were faster and more agile than anything from Earth, but the Ardani flew them cautiously. Your bodies can't handle high G turns, Kate explained after an Ardani pilot passed out during a demonstration. But your ships have inertial dampeners. You're not using them to their full capacity. Olivia spent her time deepening the communication between humans and Ardani. Through the aliens' telepathic abilities, she learned their language at an astonishing rate. Their minds work differently than ours, she told Frank during a private meeting. They share thoughts constantly. Being alone in your own head is a foreign concept to them. Is that why they were so vulnerable to the Krell? Frank asked. They couldn't imagine someone wanting to conquer them? Exactly. The concept of taking pleasure in domination doesn't exist in their psychology. As the training progressed, Ardani showed remarkable improvement. What they lacked in natural combat ability, they made up for with discipline and quick learning. Then, 2 weeks after the humans' arrival, the Krell launched a major assault. They're targeting our eastern defense barrier, Liren reported as alarms sounded throughout the complex. At least 300 ground troops with air support. Frank looked at his team. Time to see if our training paid off. Gabriel, take half the security team and lead the Ardani Defense Force. Kate Mason, I want you in those fighter ships. Show their pilots what humans can do. What about you? Gabriel asked. Olivia and I will coordinate from here. Elaine, get your medical teams ready. There will be casualties. As the battle began, the Krell expected an easy victory. For years, the Ardani had offered minimal resistance. But this time was different. The Krell ground forces encountered carefully planned traps and ambushes. Ardani fighters attacked in coordinated waves, using their telepathy to anticipate Krell movements. The modified weapons cut through Krell armor that had previously been impervious. In the sky, Kate flew an Ardani fighter with maneuvers no alien pilot had ever attempted. She barrel-rolled through Krell formations, fired with precision that seemed impossible, and used the planet's gravity to sling her ship at speeds that would have killed an Ardani pilot. Mason, in another fighter, focused on the Krell support vessels. He had reconfigured the ship's energy systems to overload their shields. One by one, Krell ships fell from the sky. On the ground, Gabriel led from the front. The Krell had never encountered anything like him. He moved faster than they could track, his strength matching or exceeding their own despite their mechanical enhancements. The Ardani fighters followed his example, using the techniques he had taught them. One Krell commander, seeing his forces being decimated, made a desperate decision. He ordered his flagship to target the city with orbital weapons, unconcerned about his own troops caught in the blast zone. Frank saw the energy readings spike on the command center screens. They're charging weapons. Everyone, take cover. But before the Krell ship could fire, Kate's fighter streaked toward it in a direct collision course. Kate, pull up, Frank shouted into the comm. That's an order. No time, Commander. Kate's voice came back. calm despite the situation. "Someone has to stop that ship. It's been an honor serving with you." Her fighter slammed into the Krell, flagship's main weapon port, just as it prepared to fire. The resulting explosion tore the alien vessel apart. In the sudden silence that followed, the remaining Krell forces retreated in disarray. They had lost nearly half their ground troops and most of their air support, but the victory had come at a cost. Kate Donnelly was gone, and many Ardani lay dead or wounded. In the medical center, Elaine worked alongside Ardani healers to save as many as possible. The portable healing devices they had created proved invaluable, saving dozens who would have otherwise died. As the day ended, Frank stood with Liren, looking out over the battered but still standing city. "Your pilot sacrificed herself for us," Liren said softly. "Why would she do that? She barely knew our people." Frank watched the sunset paint the alien sky with colors no human had seen before today. "That's what humans do, Liren. We protect those who need protection." Kate knew the stakes. "The Krell will return," Liren said, "with more ships, more soldiers." "And we'll be ready," Frank replied. "This was just one battle, but now the Krell know that the Ardani aren't fighting alone anymore. The Deathworlders have joined the war." Across the city, Mason and Gabriel raised glasses of Ardani celebratory drink in Kate's honor. Olivia continued working with the Ardani telepaths, strengthening the communication network. And on a distant Krell command ship, Supreme Executor Vark received the news of his force's defeat with cold fury. "Find out what these humans are," he ordered his intelligence officer, "and find their homeworld. If they want war, we will give them war like they have never imagined." 3 days after the battle, Frank called his remaining crew together. They met in a quiet room in the Ardani Central Complex, away from their alien allies. "We need to contact Earth," Frank said. "They need to know what's happening out here." Olivia nodded. "The fold space drive should let us send a message. It won't be fast, but it should reach them." "What exactly do we tell them?" Mason asked. "That we're in the middle of an interstellar war? That Earth has been under quarantine by alien civilizations for centuries?" "The truth," Frank said simply. "All of it. And we need to warn them that the Krell might come looking for Earth now." They worked through the night, composing a detailed message about everything they had learned. The Ardani provided star charts showing the location of the Krell homeworld and their occupied territories. Olivia included language data to help Earth communicate with other species. The next morning, they sent the message through fold space. Now they could only wait and hope it reached home. Meanwhile, news of the humans spread across the sector. The Krell, embarrassed by their defeat, claimed the Ardani had employed mercenaries from an unknown aggressive species. Other worlds under Krell occupation began to ask questions. Who were these warriors who could challenge the conquerors? 1 week after sending the message to Earth, the Ardani detected an unusual signal. A ship was approaching, but not Krell, in design. "It's from the Galactic Council," Liren explained, his skin showing patterns of surprise and concern. "They've never intervened in our conflict before." The Council ship landed at the Ardani spaceport. From it emerged 3 beings unlike any the humans had seen yet. The first was tall and willowy with skin like polished marble. The second was short and dense, moving with careful precision in what appeared to be a pressure suit. The third seemed almost human, except for the golden eyes and 6-fingered hands. "I am Observer Nix," the marble-skinned being said in perfect English. "With me are Representatives Zol and Tarin. We come as emissaries of the Galactic Council." Frank stepped forward. "Commander Frank Winters of Earth. We weren't aware that Earth had relations with any council." "It does not," Nix replied. "That is precisely why we are here. Your presence in this conflict is unexpected." The Galactic Council representatives were taken to meet with both human and Ardani leaders. There, Observer Nix explained the situation with cold clarity. "The Council has overseen galactic affairs for 50,000 years. We maintain balance between civilizations. Earth was placed under observation protocols because your species showed concerning tendencies toward violence and unpredictability." "You mean you decided we were too dangerous without even talking to us?" Frank said. not hiding his anger. Yes, Nix replied simply. Your world is classified as a death world. Species from such environments typically develop aggression as a survival trait. The Council's experience with such species has been problematic. So you just left Earth? Isolated, Olivia said. But now that we're here, what does your council want? Representative Zoll spoke, his voice coming through a translator device. Some council members demand immediate containment of the human presence. They fear your involvement could destabilize the entire sector. Containment? Gabriel asked, his hand moving closer to his weapon. What exactly does that mean? In extreme cases, quarantine enforcement can include planetary restrictions, Nix said carefully. Even memory adjustment of civilizations who have made contact. You're talking about forcing us back to Earth and making the Ardani forget we existed, Frank said flatly. That's not happening. Tension filled the room. The third representative, Tareen, who had remained silent until now, raised a six-fingered hand. There is another perspective, she said. The Krell expansion has concerned many council worlds. Their aggression grows unchecked. Perhaps these humans could serve as a counterbalance. The meeting lasted hours. The council representatives asked detailed questions about Earth, human biology, and society. They seemed especially interested in how humans had developed fold space travel so quickly after receiving the Ardani plans. Finally, Observer Nix made an announcement. The full council must debate this situation. Until then, we will observe but not interfere. Commander Winters, your people may continue to assist the Ardani, but you may not expand your presence to other systems without council approval. After, the representatives returned to their ship. Frank paced the meeting room. They're afraid of us, he said. Can you blame them? Mason replied. We just showed up and defeated forces that have been conquering this sector for years. Observer Nix was hiding something, Olivia said. I could tell. Liren, who had been quiet during most of the meeting, finally spoke. There are stories, very old stories, about the early days of the Council. About dangerous species that were not simply quarantined, but eliminated. You think they might try to destroy Earth? Elaine asked, horrified. I don't know. But I believe they fear humans more than they admitted. The next day, as the Council ship prepared to leave, Observer Nix requested a private meeting with Frank. They walked in the Ardani gardens, strange plants glowing with soft bioluminescence. There is something you should know, Commander, Nix said. Something not in official Council records. Frank waited silently. Earth was not naturally a Class 5 world, Nix continued. It was engineered to be one. What are you saying? Long ago, my species seeded life throughout the galaxy. On most worlds, we created beings like ourselves, peaceful, intellectual, focused on harmony. But on a few worlds, including Earth, we created something different. Why? Because the galaxy faced a threat that peace and intellect could not defeat. We needed warriors. Nix looked up at the stars beginning to appear in the evening sky. The project was abandoned when the threat receded. The warrior species were deemed too dangerous to allow into the galactic community. Most destroyed themselves, but humans survived. Frank tried to process this information. You're telling me humans were designed as weapons? Yes. And now you have left your world. Many on the Council fear what this might mean. Before Frank could respond, alarms blared across the city. Liren's voice came through the communication system. Commander Winters, the Krell have returned. An invasion fleet, dozens of ships. Frank ran back to the command center. On the screens he saw more Krell ships than in the previous attack, much more. This was no raid. This was an all-out attempt to end the Ardani once and for all. Where's the Council ship? Frank asked. They've left the system, Liren reported. They will not intervene. Frank looked at the tactical displays, at the overwhelming force bearing down on them. The Ardani defenses would not hold against such an assault. Even with human help, they were badly outnumbered. Get me a communication channel to the Krell flagship, Frank ordered. What are you doing? Gabriel asked. Buying time, Frank replied as Liren established the connection. On the screen appeared a Krell officer. His gray skin was marked with red patterns, signs of rank. His eyes were cold and calculating. "I am Supreme Executor Vark of the Krell Dominion," the alien said. "Who addresses me?" "Commander Frank Winters of Earth. I'm offering you one chance to withdraw your forces and leave the Ardani in peace." The Krell commander laughed, a harsh sound. "You are outnumbered 50 to 1, human. Your destruction is certain. Surrender. Now, and I may allow some of you to live as study specimens." "You should know that we've sent word to Earth," Frank said calmly. "Our world now knows about the Krell, about what you've done here. One primitive world does not concern us. After we finish here, we will find your Earth and add it to our dominion." The communication ended. Frank turned to his team and the Ardani leaders. "We need to hold out as long as possible. Help may be coming." "From where?" Gabriel asked. "The Council abandoned us, and Earth is months away, even with fold space travel." Frank smiled grimly. "I've learned one thing about humans, Gabriel. When we're told we can't do something, we try even harder to prove we can." As the Krell ships moved into attack position, the final battle for Eridan began. The Krell attack began with orbital bombardment. Their ships rained energy beams down on the Ardani city, targeting defense installations first. The shields that Mason had helped strengthen held, but they were weakening by the minute. "We have maybe an hour before the shields fail," Mason reported in the command center. Sweat ran down his face as he worked frantically at the control panel. "I'm rerouting all available power, but it won't be enough." Frank looked at the tactical display. "Gabriel, get your defense teams in position. When those shields fail, they'll land ground forces." Olivia stood beside Liren, both of them coordinating communications. The Ardani's telepathic network allowed them to instantly share information across the city. Every defender knew exactly where to go and what to do. "The civilian evacuation is at 60%, Elaine reported from the medical center. "We've moved most of the children and elderly to the underground shelters. The few remaining Ardani fighters launched with Gabriel at the controls of one. They couldn't hope to defeat the Krell fleet, but they might slow them down." As the battle raged, Frank watched the timer counting down until shield failure. Their situation seemed hopeless. The humans had taught the Ardani well, but they were simply outnumbered. The Krell had brought overwhelming force this time. "Commander," Olivia called suddenly, "I'm detecting fold space distortions at the edge of the system." Frank's heart sank. "More Krell reinforcements?" "No," Olivia said, her voice rising with excitement. "The signature doesn't match Krell technology. Frank, it's similar to our own ship's drive." Moments later, space seemed to bend and twist at the far edge of the system. A ship emerged from fold space. Then another, and another. "That's impossible," Mason whispered as he stared at the sensor readings. "It's only been a few weeks since we sent the message." The comm system crackled. A familiar voice filled the command center. "This is Admiral Sophia Ward of the Earth Defense Fleet flagship EAS Defiant. Commander Winters, do you read me?" Frank grabbed the communicator. "Admiral Ward? How are you here?" "Your message reached us, Commander. The fold space specifications. You sent allowed our engineers to build drives faster than we expected. When we learned what was happening out here, we expedited the project." On the tactical display, more ships appeared. Not just one or two, but dozens. Earth ships newly built but ready for battle. "We brought friends," Admiral Ward continued. "Nearly 100 vessels. Earth's first interstellar fleet." Frank could hardly believe what he was seeing. In the weeks since their message had reached home, Earth must have worked around the clock to build these ships and train their crews. "Admiral," Frank said, "we've got Krell forces bombarding the planet. The city shields won't hold much longer." "Understood, Commander. Help is on the way." "What are we on?" Earth fleet accelerated toward the planet. The Krell, caught by surprise, turned to meet this new threat. Their ships were larger and more heavily armed, but the Earth vessels were faster and more agile. On the surface, Frank and the others watched in amazement as the space battle unfolded above them. The Earth fleet fought with tactics no one in this part of the galaxy had seen before. They didn't form neat lines or follow predictable patterns. Instead, they swarmed like angry hornets, attacking from multiple directions, withdrawing only to strike again from unexpected angles. "They're fighting like we taught the Ardani," Gabriel said with pride. "Hit and run. Use speed instead of power." As the battle continued, more fold space distortions appeared. This time, it was the Council ship returning, along with several other vessels. Observer Nix contacted the command center. "Commander Winters, the Council has reached a decision regarding the human question. We're a little busy right now," Frank replied. "So I see. The Council has voted to lift Earth's quarantine status immediately. Your people's intervention against the Krell expansion has been deemed necessary." Frank almost laughed. "Glad to hear it. Now are you going to help or just watch?" After a moment's hesitation, Nix responded, "The Council ships will assist in the defense of Eridan." With the combined forces of Earth and the Council, the tide of battle turned. The Krell fleet, expecting an easy victory over the Ardani, found themselves outmaneuvered and surrounded. Supreme Executor Vark made one final desperate push toward the planet's surface. His flagship plunged through the atmosphere, aiming to destroy the Ardani capital even if it meant his own destruction. Admiral Ward's voice came through the comm. "Commander, we can't get a clear shot at the Krell flagship if it reaches the city." "I've got it," Gabriel said. He had returned to the command center after his fighter was damaged. Now he ran to a nearby Ardani shuttle. "Mason, I need you." "With me." The two humans launched in the small craft, intercepting the Krell flagship in mid-descent. Mason had rigged the shuttle's power core to overload. It was a suicide mission. "Gabriel, Mason, abort," Frank ordered. "That's a direct order." "Sorry, Commander," Gabriel replied. "Sometimes you need a Deathworlder to do what needs to be done." At the last moment, as the shuttle approached the Krell flagship, a Council vessel appeared alongside them. A beam of light enveloped the shuttle, and Gabriel and Mason vanished from their seats. The empty shuttle slammed into Vark's flagship. The resulting explosion tore the Krell vessel apart. Both ships fell from the sky in pieces, crashing into the unpopulated mountains beyond the city. In the command center, two figures materialized in a shimmer of light. Gabriel and Mason looked around in confusion. "What just happened?" Gabriel demanded. Observer Nix's voice came through the comm. "Teleportation technology. We couldn't allow such brave warriors to sacrifice themselves unnecessarily. With Vark's death and the destruction of many of their ships, the remaining Krell forces retreated. The battle was over. The Ardani had survived. In the days that followed, representatives from Earth, the Ardani, the Council, and even some former Krell subject worlds met on Eridan. A new alliance was formed, the Concordiat, a mutual defense pact between Earth and its new alien allies. Frank stood with Liren watching as Admiral Ward signed the agreement on behalf of Earth. "When we received your distress call, we never imagined it would lead to this," Frank said. Liren's skin rippled with bright colors of joy and hope. "When we sent it, we never imagined humans would answer. The galaxy has changed forever because of it." "And now?" Frank asked. "Now the Deathworlders have taken their place among the stars," Liren replied, "and any who threaten peace will learn to fear them." 1 month later, Frank Winters became Earth's first ambassador to the Galactic Council. Olivia Ramirez returned to Earth to lead the new Xenocultural Relations Department. Mason Phillips stayed on Eridan, continuing to merge human and alien technologies. Gabriel Ortiz began training a mixed species security force, while Elaine Russell established the first interspecies medical exchange program. And across the galaxy, the story spread of how a desperate call for help had awakened the sleeping giants of Earth, how the Deathworlders had answered, and how the stars themselves had trembled.